Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to Secret Friends Unite podcast episode 528. This is your guide to the geek side. And I am Todd Oxtra, living large in Minnesota. We are in the dog days of summer, as they would say. We're starting to get warm. Garden is loaded. And I have got some bunnies I need to fight off because they're eating my radishes, Charlie.
We have a lot of bunnies.
Go time.
We definitely have more bunnies here. About 10 years ago, and it was even before we bought the house, we were just caretaking it for my mom. There were baby bunnies in the backyard, like little, like keep them in the palm of your hand. I still got the pictures around somewhere. And then for a long time, it seemed like there were none. This year, they seem to be absolutely everywhere. But we've had in this part of town a dandelion outbreak. Like I'm driving a couple blocks from here, and there's some dude's lawn that has 100,000 dandelions in it. Like he needs to mow, but his lawn is all dandelions. So maybe that's why there's more bunnies. It's like season. It's like cicadas, right? There's a dandelion season every 26 years, something like that.
The deer, yeah. Well, you know what? Stop eating my damn radishes. Stop eating my dill. We're gonna have words, bunnies. Captain Carrot. I don't like you anymore. But you know what, Charlie? This isn't a gardening podcast. It is a podcast where we talk about the geeky stuff. It's the summer of Superman. We are moving on to our third film, Superman Returns. And then we're going to talk about geek stuff we've been watching and reading about in the news. But with that, before we get moving on, we need to thank our Patreons.
Yes, we will talk about all that stuff after we pay homage to the wonderful people who support us over on patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. You get great exclusive programs. We do a ton of awesome interviews with industry peeps, comics and movies and TV alike, which is awesome. You don't want to miss it. Early shows, ad-free shows, an exclusive Discord channel on our Discord. This is for 7 days for free. Half off your first month and stay on board for as little as $2 a month. My goodness, what a bargain. Folks like my buddy Derek, the figure dude, are on board. Francie, who does my wife's hair. Mr. Luke Lord, Xbox Expansion Pass, going to be joining us for a future Summer of Superman segment by the sounds of it, which is great. We haven't had Luke back in a while.
Absolutely.
And my Uncle Tim, great fella. Also John Sedorf, Brendan Myers, Corey in HD, Matthew Keel, Kurt Krug, without whom there wouldn't be all those wonderful interviews because he's a journalist buddy of mine. I call him my agent. Tanya Lee, Chipotle Bear, famous Seamus up there in Canada, Cam the Movie Man, Jay Newport 007, and Prozac Man, a.k.a. Darth Prozac. Very grateful for all of your support, but wouldn't be a shout out if we didn't talk about the awesome Nias family from up there in the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry. Very grateful for all of your support. Again, patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Try us out for 7 days for free and stick around. You will be absolutely glad that you did. Oh my, moving into photo covers. This is the second one we've had in a few weeks, and it's still Spider-Man. So what do we got going on here?
Charlie, and this week we got this covered. For some reason, Marvel did photo covers for a while. I remember the famous Spider-Man one where he's in the photo lab and he's putting on his gear and he's got no mask on, crazy. Right. But this one is Marvel team up Spider-Man and Captain America. We were just talking about this because we've talked a bunch of writers now that we now know are all part of this pantheon of writers that did this title, and this was Marvel Team Up Spider-Man and Captain America number 128. And the funny thing is, it's a photo cover. We basically got New York with Spider-Man dude and Captain America dude. These look like people that would have been in the Marvel movies of the 70s, but not too bad. But Charlie, before we going, I'm gonna give you a fun fact. Do you know who was in those costumes?
I don't for a fact know who the Captain America was, but I will tell you that in the 1970s, to appear in appearances around the city of New York, Mr. Jonathan Frakes portrayed Captain America. Don't know that that's him. The Spider-Man one, no clue. And obviously that doesn't necessarily look like Frakes' mug because it's funny, I've seen a photo of Frakes as Captain America. It was a black and white with Stan Lee in it, and you can absolutely tell that it's Frakes. It's a very distinctive face. Who is it?
So we've got the two people wearing the costumes. We've got John Squid Morelli as Spider-Man and Jumbo Joe Jusko as Captain America.
Oh, yeah. Wow,
He
he's
did
a
all
Marvelite.
those.
And,
Remember, he did all the covers of the cards too. Joe Jusko, those beautiful painted comic cards. Yeah,
I've got a great one, and it's one of the screen images on my laptop of him with Peter Parker, much like that other photo cover you were talking about, where he's kind of half dressed, but he's kind of like doing a chest bearing here. He's like, "Rah!" But he's in jeans. And the Spider-Man top. What's nice about that is I have no idea if Joe Jusko was like a big bruiser man, but what's nice about the Cap shield, of which I have when it's on the flip side of me, but as a cosplayer, because I have Cap cosplay, great to hide up the middle section of the body if it's not quite so Cap-like.
It's like when an actress is pregnant on a show, you put a basket of laundry in front of them, and thus you just put your shield.
Stand behind the couch. Yeah, absolutely correct.
Okay,
but
so
yeah,
Charlie, you got a glass.
Yeah.
So I'm making you guess the plot and the date of this comic. That's our new change. So I will intro it, but I'm going to make you do all the heavy work.
The easy part would be the 60-cent cover price, which would put it at probably 1982 or 3. So I'm gonna go on that regard. And as far as
you get that right, you got that right. It was January 83.
Okay,
so you're right there.
There is absolutely nothing on the cover of this that could even remotely help you with what the plot line is, but I have the following issue, 129. This is one of the ones I've talked to you about. What I collect is out of print comics that are not possible to find. I have 129. It's a picture of Cap or Spidey falling because the shield is in there. Maybe it's both of them. So this was a two-parter, and the big tail of the Scorpion is reaching into the frame. So I'm going to say this is part 1 of 2, them fighting the Scorpion. That's what I'm going with.
Well, Charlie, not in this issue, but this issue, they were taking on Vermin, Ed Whelan.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There were, this issue was referenced in the famous Kraven's Last Hunt, in which Vermin was the villain. In little flashbacks he was having in his head, him fighting Captain America, which he also fought Captain in his solo title as well, Grunwald and Michael Zack. I guess. And so it was in the sewers, which is funny because this image shows like nothing of that. So yeah, cool, good deal. I don't know that I have this one, but I will now be on the lookout for it. Good deal.
Gotta love those photo covers. You know what? They were a different day and time.
Indeed. And speaking of the New York sewers, it just reminds me of the various occupations our senior news correspondent has had over the years. In 1983, Madam Webb was 83, but she was still hard at work scooping the news down the New York sewer. Maybe the Ninja Turtles were down there. Maybe it was too early for them. Sure. I'm not sure. But regardless, these days Morlock, absolutely. These days she does, of course, work for us, and she's in sunny California down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, getting all the latest news for us. So let's check it out.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Fun fact, Charlie, did you know that Madam Webb was actually the photographer of those covers? She brought out the old flash pot, camera that you put on the ground. You had all of the what is it? It was probably some type of flammable component. You clicked it and you got it, apparently. Right. And then she went over, she colored it, she painted it. And then she took another picture of the background, composed the two, and there we go. She's quite talented.
Such a talented lady. You'd think we pay her more, but we don't. All right. Last night, as of us recording this, there was a streaming event on Netflix. They do that from time to time. But this was a big, like, hey, this is our American Movie Awards kind of thing, where they had a live audience. It was at a venue. And it was 2 hours long because there was a replay this morning, which I'm like, oh, we missed I called it To Dumb, but when I started to watch it, it's probably didn't want people to calling it dumb. It's pronounced To Doom, so it was Netflix To Doom event.
Really?
Apparently.
To Doom. I thought it was Toddum, like Todd Dumb.
Nope.
Todd is dumb. No.
Todd Dumb. But this morning it was available for replay, and I knew I had to watch these trailers, so I said to April, we'll tune into this thing and see what's going on. So we tuned in, and they had like a Jimmy Kimmel, like, hey, we got a sketch, but it was about an original show, which I had not seen, with a star that I did not know, and it was really corny. And they segued that into the host, Sophia Carson, dropping down off of like a ladder or something and saying, "Are you ready for To Doom?" It was just, I could already tell that there would be absolutely no value in watching this. So I said to her, we're just
Yeah.
going to go watch. We're just going to go to YouTube and watch trailers, because you can go to the Netflix YouTube channel and they're all there. You don't really have to search.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was bad, but yeah, we got 4 trailers out of this. Todd, walk us through it. What do we got?
So since I have not caught up on Squid Game, I'm almost through season 1, so I did not want to get spoiled. So they did have a trailer for season 3. It is ending with season 3, so that's obviously one of their biggest hits of all time. Very cool. At that point,
haven't watched it, but I know what it's about because it's been out there. So
yep. So
they're
very
just
cool.
looking for squids, right? Just look for squids.
Looking for squids. It's like
Cool.
it is interesting because it is like this one. It becomes like the original game, and then you get more into like about one of the players tries to basically stop the whole game from happening. So it becomes like a bigger thing. Then we got essentially
from Star Wars. Yeah, the Star Wars guy. Acolyte?
Correct. Yep. That he got his big breakout. Learned how to speak English for that role in the Acolyte, and obviously that didn't go well. So hopefully he gets more roles. But then we get Rian Johnson's essential third of the Knives Out series. It's called Wake Up Dead Man. We get Daniel Craig back as Benoit Blanc. He's got long hair this time, and this time we are getting a murder mystery that is tied in a little bit of a supernatural beat, which should be pretty cool. So I love those movies quite a bit. So I'm excited for this one. And it says 2020. Well, it says December 12th, 2025. So I didn't think there was a date.
There you
That's
go.
Cool.
Yeah. It's very Christmassy. Gotcha.
Yes.
And then we have a new Frankenstein with Oscar Isaac. Wasn't that Oscar Isaac? Looked like him.
It was Oscar Isaac. A big cast. It looks very cool. Guillermo del Toro. I mean, the fact that he's able to make films with Netflix, he doesn't have to worry about budget. And this movie is coming out. It doesn't even give us a date, of course. Yeah, but it looks amazing, and it looks like it's going to be a very tight adaptation to the Mary Shelley novel, which we've had various takes on it, and it doesn't always work out. But this one looks really damn cool. Yeah,
April went and she pointed out, or it reminded me, and we talked about that. It was Mary Shelley, a woman in the 19th century, that invented science fiction, because that
so crazy
was the first book of that kind. Yeah, I know. A woman. What?
Well, we have a museum here. It's about electricity. It's by the guy who actually created the pacemaker, who basically established basically a museum of electricity and technology. And they have this really cool Frankenstein experience, which is very cool. It's like a little play that you watch. It's automated. It's very cool. So if you're in Minneapolis, go to the Bakken Museum. It's very, very cool.
Nice.
And yeah, it definitely pays a homage to Mary Shelley, which, at the time, the fact that a woman got published and basically created genre. Yes. Let's see. Next we got Happy Gilmore 2, Charlie. Oh, you want to talk about that one?
Let me jump in. Happy Gilmore came out in 96 or late 90s, mid to late 90s anyway. And for the time when Adam Sandler was at the top of his game, I think everybody loved it. I found it very enjoyable. This looks absolutely awful.
Oh, really? I thought it looked funny. I thought it looked funny.
No, it just was not. It was not grabbing me. I could be totally wrong, but I guess I've been out of love with him for a long time. I couldn't tell you the last thing he made that I was really crazy about. You know what I mean? And now he's on the next Netflix kind of teat. He's been with them.
He was one of the first ones to make movie deals with them, and the quality has been all over the place. And he does that one with, what is it, Jennifer Aniston, where it's like their murder mystery, I think it's called, or something like that. I don't know. I think this feels like more Happy Gilmore. So Charlie, it maybe is the fact that we are older and more mature than we're in college, and we're like, oh, it's Adam Sandler. So this feels like, the fact that you see him, basically, he's trying to fund his daughter's college. He didn't exactly go on and make a lot of money on the tour. He was kind of one and done, and now he's
And you're getting a lot of I couldn't figure out if he and the woman who was in Modern Family, if they're still together, but they got a bunch of kids, or maybe those are his nieces and nephews.
One kid that wants to go to ballet school.
Yeah, and he's got his crappy old car, but then he dusts off his jersey. He's like, I gotta get back to it, and you get a appearance by actor Christopher McDonald, who's Shooter
Yep.
McGavin, whom I love, and then you get Lavelle Crawford taking over the role of Carl Weathers' character, like that's his son. Lavelle Crawford used to be a very, very morbidly obese man. Has lost like 200 pounds, but he's still a big dude.
And he got the hand passed down to him.
Yes. Which happy breaks. So yeah, you're right. It looks dumb, but I don't know why it wouldn't, and that doesn't mean that I won't watch.
I was gonna say this is gonna be the critically acclaimed Happy Gilmore sequel we've all been waiting for. Yes,
exactly. And speaking of critically and waiting, and these kids are probably all in a master's program now. Stranger Things is coming back.
Season 5. Wow.
Stranger Things first came out in 2013, I think. 12 or 13 or older.
I'm looking it up. Keep going.
But it was definitely in the mid-teens without a doubt. And now it's 2025. The last time we were watching this was 3 years ago. I think the last
Charlie, we're all wrong. The first season was released in 2016.
Okay.
So 9 years.
But it came out in succession. It was if this is season 5,
2017, then 2019. Okay. So then they started having gaps, and then it was 2022. So then you got a 3-year gap, and then we're having another 3-year gap.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that works in movies like Star Wars, for example, where the characters are adults. When the characters are kids, that's a little bit more of a trouble, because Millie Bobby Brown now, wears a ton of makeup and does a lot of thirst trap photos.
And she's married to John Bon Jovi's son.
Yeah, she doesn't really channel 11 anymore. She's sexy glam girl and married into the Bon Jovi.
Well, she's not 11 anymore. She's now 22.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, precisely. Then I could change your name to 22. But I got to be honest with you. 3 years is a long time in this space where so much stuff comes. I have absolutely there was a character called Vecna, and the guy who's going to be Johnny Storm was a character, and Sadie Sink was a character, and the Never-Ending Story got sung by the guy Galen Metzero, who has the thing with his teeth. I'm all over the place with Stranger Things. I just don't know. So it's time for some serious recapping with the
absolutely
videos. Yeah.
It's always great when it comes back, and I'm like, I love this so much, and then it's like, we won't see you again for 3 years, so you better enjoy it. And the interesting thing about this, Charlie, we did get kind of a we're not seeing much about the show, but we did get kind of a look back. But then they told us, by the way, you'll get 3 essentially different parts. November 26th, December 25th, and December 31st is the finale. So it's once again saying, we want you to at least subscribe for 2 months. So that's what you'll have to do unless you're going to wait to binge it all. So that's why it's getting broken up. But this is right around the holidays. Perfect time, because nobody's doing nothing. So, of course, it's not like happy, good, feely time, but it is time off and you'll do something.
It's still I'll watch it on my phone, so I don't have to spend time with my weird extended family.
It's the way the directors wanted you to do it.
Exactly, on your phone. But it's weird that Netflix, who was the company that invented streaming, for lack of a better term, or it's still in the public consciousness. When people think streaming, you think, oh, it's on Netflix, because everything used to be on Netflix, and then streaming blew up and there's all these competitors. So because it's so competitive, Netflix is having to invest money in special events and finding ways to stretch stuff out, because it's not just a fire it and forget. People look a little more critically at which streamers they do, because otherwise it'll be more than cable ever was. I mean, Todd, do you still mess around with that cord cutters group that you used to love so much, or is it just very
I kind of don't pay attention anymore, because it's not even essential anymore, but it is funny every once in a while. There's very few people that are like pro cable now, but Netflix is also changed, where they're doing a lot of live events. They now have WWE live events. They're going to have football games, and all these things. Wow. It means that is like, you have to actually come and watch it while it's live, because sporting events are things that you just don't rewatch. You got to watch them when they're on. So must see TV, live sports, news, which the two things
all the way back around,
that are still requires a live element. So that's why cable still exists, and that's why everybody's trying to get like ESPN is having their app coming out that you can just get ESPN on. It's gonna be $30 a month. I will not be paying $30 a month to watch maybe half of the shows I want to see, or sports I want to see.
That is a lot. But I did notice, since you brought up ESPN, on Disney Plus, that's kind of the 6th button all the way over on the right now. So there's an ESPN button on Disney Plus. So offer
some things. They offer some things. Some
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
you will once with that is going to basically if you want like big games like NBA, you want NFL,
Yeah.
baseball, things like that, you will have to have the ESPN app or a traditional subscription like YouTube TV
My
or something like that,
goodness.
which is funny. Now YouTube
that's
TV is now the traditional subscription service, which is crazy.
wow. So crazy. Things change so much. Anyway, well, moving on. We're getting a return to the boys averse, and here's another
Oh,
show
you
that
missed the
I'm
last
like,
one, Charlie.
what?
I missed
No.
it. Putting it here was
Oh,
Wednesday.
okay.
Finally, they did a
Oh,
6-minute preview, which
yeah. I did.
Haley Joel
Yeah.
Osment is in, and he's in some trouble
Okay.
right now. But he is
He
going to
is.
be a bad dude in this,
Yeah.
which
I
is kind
did.
of cool.
You know, because it was 6 minutes. I thought, no, I'll watch the show. I didn't watch the 6
Yeah.
minutes. I kind of skipped it. So, but yeah, that is weird that Haley Joel Osment, who got himself in a bit of trouble a couple weeks ago, you're wondering how that'll all shake out.
Well, he's playing a serial killer in this now. That
Well,
Wednesday has now decided that she's going to find. But yeah, it was very humorous, very cool. But yeah, it is coming out in 2 parts. Wednesday part, season 2. August 6th and then September 3rd. So a summer, and you get into spooky season as you get into that. So very cool.
You get 2 months of their subscription fees. All right. Well, now let's actually move on. Returning to the boys averse. When are we getting the last season of the boys? Maybe next year?
It's got to be 2026, I assume.
You know,
because we're hearing it's going to be all the Supernatural boys are going to be in it now. And yeah.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, the spinoff is Gen V, and it's basically it's the Soups Academy, which we had a season of, and still it was not like, oh, they pulled the punches because these kids are teenagers. It was very gritty and raw. And I'm also kind of left not quite remembering everything that happened, but I know at the end of it, the characters that we love got imprisoned. And Homelander showed up in order to pull it off. Because I think we had one or more of the characters that kind of turned on the other ones. I'm trying to remember. Like
it was the brother that was trapped in the prison, and then the one girl who could manipulate people by whispering in their ear. Yeah. They end up doing heel turns, and we got the main stage. We got them in jail, and then we also got the one actor who died, who in real life, who's not coming back. And he was the uncle in Sabrina, and then he was the son of one of the gifted characters that was his dad was kind of like a muckety muck, and he passed. He ended up passing away in real life. So I'm not sure how they're going to cover it, but it looks like we saw the dad there. It looks like his son died. They're going to basically he died. So his father is going to be taking a big role in this now going forward.
Right. So, this is on Prime. If you've not watched The Boys, I know as much as I enjoyed the most recent season, and I thought it was the case with this show as well, they just keep turning up the gross out factor. Like, one tiny character is inside a man's genitals, and then he grows up and the guy explodes. It's just like,
Well, this year she's going to be beer pong. Because you see that where they're throwing her as a little person, and she's going to be beer pong. So
and not a little person, an actual like Thumbelina. That character.
She's a shrinker like Ant-Man.
She had to induce vomiting to shrink, and she had to eat to get big
so
again,
sad.
which I thought was kind of like
big.
like
Alice in Wonderland, right? Yeah,
exactly. So anyway, that looks fun. What's the date on that one?
This is coming in September, so September 17th, and then additional episodes will drop on Wednesdays through October 22nd. So it seems like it's almost a whole month. So hopefully we won't get the 4 episodes at once. We'll get maybe 2 to launch, and then maybe weekly, and then maybe 2 for the finale. And just so I'm giving him his props. Chance Perdomo was the actor who passed away. Sadly, he was Andre Anderson. He was kind of like the golden boy that was dating one of the characters. So it's kind of sad that he will not be joining them for the end. But yeah, I mean, Gen V was a surprise spinoff that did much better than we expected, and really drew us all in. So and I assume this will continue after The Boys wraps up, because I don't know. I think The Boys is one more season and it's done. So this is a great way to continue it with new characters. And where does it go next?
Right, the Vaudiverse, exactly. All right, well, Marvel Comics, the MCU, we got a roundup, which is funny because the first item is a character called Paladin, which I feel like was an old Western, because I just remember
it was Paladin. It was have gun, will travel.
Paladin. I just remember the song. Just remember the kids were walking along train tracks singing the song, and Paladin was the Paladin. But I like this, and I've been following his Instagram for weeks because he's overseas filming this. It's Todd Stashwick is going to be classic Marvel character Paladin. I mean, I didn't get that from your article, but I know for a fact that I heard that casting elsewhere.
Well, no, it just says right here, he's learned that Todd Stashwick will play Paladin, which, Charlie, I don't remember anything about Paladin. Is he just a dude that shoots?
You know, he is. My familiarity with him had to do with the Silver Sable comic spin-off part of Spider-Man. Because Silver Sable was this international bounty hunter. She was the head of her own country, Simcaria or something like that, probably right next to Latveria is one of the areas. And he is also a bounty hunter who has been in her employ. Like her ex-husband was the Foreigner, so another bounty hunter. And then Sandman worked for her for a while when he was not a villain anymore. But yeah, he was. My first time I ever remember seeing him on a cover of anything, it was Marvel Team Up. So he's from the late 70s, early 80s.
I remember seeing him in the Marvel Universe, handbook, and I'm like, oh, it's Paladin. Yeah, exactly. He's purple and shoots things. I'm like, okay, sure, maybe I'll read about him in a book, and I never did. Or maybe I did.
I had a figure for a while when I was reevaluating my characters. I'm like, this is a stupid character, and I ended up selling him or something. But yeah, that also says Vision, which again, it's filming overseas. That's why Todd Stashwick is. He was actually having a beer or having a pint in a pub in Dublin with Sean Ferrick, who is a contributor over on Code 47. Who's a Dublin native.
Very cool. Well, everybody needs a guide, right? It does say here, Charlie, that Todd Stashwick playing Paladin, he's going to be a mercenary hunting down Vision to steal the technology. So he's going to be a spy, and they basically say whether he's doing so at the behest of Sword or another entity. We'll see. And then there's another note here about this leak that says with Avengers Doomsday, it says Ryan Gosling is Marvel's top choice for Ghost Rider. The only obstacle is Star Wars Starfighter. He'll also appear in Doomsday.
Yeah, that seems kind of unattributable. To bounce back to Vision for a second, it did let us know that Carrie Condon, who is the voice of Friday, will be taking on a physical role. James Darcy, who was Edwin Jarvis, going back to the Agent Carter series, will also appear. I saw a video this morning that said all of these other characters coming out, and they also cast somebody as Jocasta, who is a Heritage Avengers character.
Could Friday become Jocasta?
No, we're talking separate characters, but the whole series will be about AI coming.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Will the Friday the assistant become like a Jocasta?
Like a Jocasta, like in a robot body kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Which I think is fantastic. And again, I've heard it said that WandaVision, Agatha, and this form its own type of like kind of umbrella trilogy in its own way, like bringing the characters all full circle because they all spawn from that show. It'll be interesting to see exactly what
talk about means. A character that you just felt like so underutilized and just was always like when he does something cool, then he's like iced, and that's Vision. I feel like every time he does something cool, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna shelve you away because we don't want to deal with you.
The Vision was an Avengers mainstay for decades. And then you're right. The whole him being destroyed, that actually happened because the U.S. government disassembled him because he violated national security protocols, and they disassembled him. And when they put him back together, he had lost his memory and his emotions and everything. So it was a whole thing. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And they also Alex. So this over at Cosmic Circus, Alex Perez, I don't know if he's reputable, says the Champions / Young Avengers will assemble an Avengers Doomsday, so that could potentially mean Tommy, who we've seen. Is it Tommy or Billy? Billy, who we've seen in Agatha all along. And then, of course, there's new Hawkeye, which is Kate Bishop. Congratulations to Haley Stenfield, who got married this weekend to a football player, somebody from the Bills.
Oh, yeah. One of the biggest players in the world, and lucky guy, lucky girl. They're both very happy. And you know what? I like the fact that they're both making money. So she didn't marry him for the money because she's making money and really good in Sinners. So that's good. Exactly. Real love means not having to marry for money.
Exactly correct. Because when April and I got married, we didn't have any damn money.
That's right.
Both of us. But yeah, also this could be the return of Kamala Khan and so on and so forth. So lots of things going around. And again, we have Wonder Man, Daredevil season 2
Well,
coming up. There's stuff on the horizon.
they haven't hinted
X-Men
about a
97,
Nova, like Nova showing up as part
right,
of like the Champions, which is just
right,
at this point, Charlie. I'm just once again, however, if the Russos can figure this out without having an opportunity to actually introduce these characters, and they have to do it in
right.
the main film, man, that's tough because they didn't introduce really any characters in their films that hadn't already been introduced in the movies. Now they're going to introduce characters that
Right.
aren't even introduced into the TV series or the
Right.
movies. And they're like,
Here
who are
you
those
go.
dudes? I'm like,
Yeah,
ugh, this could be horrible. But yeah, I'm excited the fact that we're going to
right.
get more of the TV series. Marvel Zombies, curious what they're going to do with that. X-Men 97
Yeah.
season 2, and then obviously maybe another freshman year. And then apparently there is they want to build a movie around Battle World, which is obviously part of Secret Wars, which could mean
You can
yeah.
follow my fingers. There's the map of it right there on my back wall. I've got that was
Yep.
from
And
the 2015. That was premium I got from Comic Shop.
maybe Doctor Strange 3, World War Hulk, Black
Yep.
Panther 3. Now that Coogler is free to make another movie, could he come back to
Yeah.
that? And then maybe we'll hear something about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Holy crap, Charlie. There's so much we don't know.
Yeah, absolutely correct. So it's a matter of what they can pack in, and you just don't really know. All right, Marvel and DC crossover. So Marvel and DC have made nice, according to this headline, and crossover comics. This is crossover comics that need to happen. But what do we know about what's going to happen? What's coming up? What do we know?
So so unfortunately my links didn't work, but so the first crossover, because we heard about there's going to be a crossover after
Right.
they did the omnibuses of the Age of Marvel DC crossovers, the amalgam basically said more is going to happen. So we've got our first one announced, and that is going to be Deadpool Batman, or Batman Deadpool, depending on how you want to say it. Very cool. Greg Capullo.
Sure.
Who is an amazing artist. He was part of that great run on the Court of Owls. Is going to be illustrating it, and the fun part is he was the Spawn illustrator as well. So he's going to be drawing it. Zeb Wells is going to be writing it, and he's a Spider-Man writer. And then DC will publish Batman, Deadpool, and they're doing 2 different versions. So there's, depending on who's publishing it, it's a different creative staff. So I screwed this up. So the Marvel, that's what's going to happen with Marvel, and then DC is going to do a Batman Deadpool by Grant Morrison, an amazing writer who also did a great run on Batman, and Dan Mora, who did a run on Superman Batman World's Finest. So basically we're getting 2 different one-shots, which is amazing, very cool. And we normally don't get these. So the fact that we're going to get these, and it will be first will be Deadpool Batman, so Marvel, in September 17th, 2025. And then we are getting a Batman Deadpool in November. So very, very cool. And apparently there is another pair of crossover one-shots for 2026. So it seems like they realize there's more money to be made by working together than apart. Than the team ups, right? You got to fight first, and then you make the money, right?
Is that is that like the underpants gnomes or the sock gnomes from the South Park?
Well, it seems like they know how to make the money. They just been like so stubborn and not wanting to work together. But it's like, what's the point? I mean, only fanboys really like Marvel's better. Blah, blah, like companies like
whatever.
Money.
It's like saying Star Wars is better, Star Trek is better. Most people I know like both of them. And if you don't, you're an idiot. No,
and if they don't, exactly. Yeah. Well, and then it's like if you just don't like it because you've never experienced it, and then you're just being moronic and ignorant.
Yeah, I mean,
so there you go.
Like I said, nothing is like, well, I really prefer Star Wars. Well, what difference does it make? Do you actually? You're right. Like, have you even watched the other one?
I bet Star Trek didn't notice that you don't like them. They really cared.
Star Trek is they're crying in their synthales, but the most that I really want out of this is for them to finally make a reprint of Superman Spider-Man from 1977, because I had a copy. It was
that's not anywhere else.
No, gone. It's been gone for decades.
It wasn't part of anything. It wasn't part of it wasn't part of the DC versus Marvel omnibus that they just put out.
That's one you.
I bet it's in there, Charlie. I bet it's no. I have the amalgam. I didn't get the crossover one, which I think you can still get on Amazon. So I bet it's in there. So you probably should just look to see if it's in there. If it's in there, then you got it.
I just feel like I already checked it out.
You know what? Before we get to the Geek Easy, we'll check it out.
Okay, very good. And with that, you're right. You're one of your links is
No,
broken. So
no.
that's it. That's all we got. Oh
No,
what's your
it's
link?
not it, because the link that is right is basically saying, so what could we expect from
What
future
could be?
crossovers
That
that
was
we
the
could
link
get?
that's the link that was right.
So
Okay.
one thing they call it is Batman Daredevil. That seems like a match made in heaven. Both, ground level, fighting crime people that don't necessarily always have special abilities. And that could be a very cool team up. Teen Titans, Young Avengers. Makes sense. Could be cool. Although
Sure.
Young Avengers and Marvel, it seems like it's always like who's on the team. We don't know. It's not exactly a standard team.
Right.
Green Lantern, Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah.
Naomi, which was a character from DC.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
You want to have that written by our new friend Ron Mars? Didn't he do great runs on both of them? Just saying.
Absolutely, that'd be amazing, because I think there was a crossover at one point, maybe, that I might have missed. So, but
okay.
Ron Mars would be perfect for that. Then, other than that, Wonder Woman, Thor would be a lot of fun, because obviously, mythology, gods, very cool.
Yep.
Blue Beetle, Spider-Man. I'm not as huge on that one.
Miles Morales. I didn't. Yeah, Blue Beetle is very sour on me. After I couldn't watch 20 minutes of that movie. Couldn't take it.
But Justice League X-Men could be a lot of fun. There's some other ones in here, or even Doom Patrol X-Men. But So there's. Charlie, if you had to pick a Marvel character, a DC character to team up, what would you want?
I already said it. Spider-Man, Superman from 1977.
Well, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
That already happened, though. If there's another one.
If there's, I'm trying to just look around at ones that I have. I don't know enough deep level DC characters. I'm sorry, or even surface level ones. I can't. I'm sorry. You got me. What about you? What you
so I've got two in mind.
Okay.
Doctor Strange, Constantine could be a lot of fun, because Doctor Strange is kind of like uptight. Constantine isn't, so be a fun crossover. And then Wolverine, Lobo. Why not? Two dudes that are scruffy, crazy, kind of can't both die, just having a ball. Maybe somebody gets hurt along the way.
Oh, Rich Man, Poor Man with Green Arrow and Hawkeye. Because isn't Green Arrow? Green Arrow's a rich dude, and Hawkeye's he's a carny. Basically,
carny,
yeah.
Connie, and they both have similar tastes in women, right? Mockingbird and Black Canary.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, saucy.
They can do a wife swap.
Oh God! Oh, now we're getting into a very different kind of comic. Anyway, that takes us out of the news. I have got Todd's already at the Geek Easy. He flipped the script, so I got to get to him. But I know I'm going to get plastered at the Geek Easy, so I'm not going to drive. Always be responsible. So I'm getting that Uber ordered up. The guy pulls up in that Cadillac XXQ7 Batman symbol, beautiful vehicle, but he still has the AM radio on and is playing this very familiar advertisement.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerds on. At this point, I am finding things on different apps that are really making me, they are perfect for like when I'm preparing food or doing something upstairs, or just as a nice filler for like real content. And what I like are like those like pseudo documentaries in a lot of ways. Well, the Nacelle has done a ton of these all over the place. They're everywhere.
That is, that's our friend Brian Volkweiss,
yes,
who we
absolutely.
He's super cool guy.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. So they're all over the place. This one they do is called Icons Unearthed. It's on Prime. It's also other places as well. And this one is Marvel specific, and it's kind of cool because it's not just focusing on just the way back past, which is the first episode, is all about how Marvel started, how it changed, the early days and all their struggling, the ownership of Marvel through time. They were owned, passed it along. It was really bad. Stan was kind of the key component throughout all of it, depending on the ownership. And they struggled through, the comics. They did really well in the comics, but then they could not buy a show or a content on a screen, because essentially they sold their rights. They went cheap. I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, this is a lot of the stuff is very well known, but what they're going to do, Charlie, with subsequent episodes is they're going to get into how the MCU happened, get into Kevin Feige and how each movie, kind of in how they brought each character to life on screen, which I thought is kind of cool because you don't get a lot of that. So it's a deep dive on like, first it'll be Iron Man, and then it'll be like Hulk. So it'll be like those two, and then it'll get into Thor and Captain America, and then kind of getting your way to Avengers. It's very good. And they're about 40 minutes each. You obviously Stan's passed away, but you do get a lot of cool talking heads that were there when it happened, or people that were part of the industry, artists,
and was there
writers.
Anybody that we've talked to over on Spotlight?
Not really. You got a woman that was in Thick as Thieves with Stan in regards to trying to get like their properties published. Or got deals, screen deals, and things like that. So she was the person that ended up leaving. She ended up on the sly made deals with Fox on their kids block, which is really where everything kind of came to fruition, because the guy that was there that owned Toy Biz or something like that was just a dirtbag. So she said, I'm going to just try, because she tried to get her a contract with Marvel, and he said no. So she's like, okay, I'll make some connections and try to get a deal, because she's like, if I leave, I want to help Marvel adapt some of their properties, because she saw so many bad things that happen. So that's how she got hired by Fox eventually, and then was a buyer.
Who's the woman?
I forgot her name. I have to look it up, but basically she was a
That
buyer.
could be the spoiler.
Yeah, but she was a buyer, so she was ended up one that got X-Men, she got Spider-Man, and then the Silver Surfer on Fox Kids, which really kicked everything off to like, Marvel can make money, and then there's the whole, you know.
By then they had sold off Spider-Man and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
Well, like even like they talk about the, they show us a copy of the Jim Cameron treatment for Spider-Man that was signed.
That's where, and I don't know if you know, that Spider-Man photo cover we were talking about, that's what that's from. That is what that came from. Yeah.
That's so
Isn't
weird.
that weird?
Okay.
Isn't that so weird? But or at least that's the urban legend. That sounds cool. So that's on Prime, which means everybody probably has it. Almost everybody.
I think it was on Freevee, but I don't even know if Freevee exists anymore. I think Freevee got folded in just to Prime. It's free. So it's just but yeah, it's basically 40 minutes.
That's cool.
And episodes, very cool, very fun. And the fact that it's like I said, it's focused on the emergence of the MCU and gets you through Avengers essentially.
Okay.
So,
check it out. That's good. Now I might have to go check it out. All right. And you saw the loser of the weekend at the box office, $21 million. Tell us about it.
Okay. I'm going to have to find out more about this, like actually how much this cost, because it feels like this movie didn't have to perform that great to do well. And that is Karate Kid Legends. So Karate Kid Legends is the culmination of both the Karate Kid movies from Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, up to Jackie Chan, and then with Jaden Smith to Cobra Kai, and then including this movie. So they are all connected. So that is the whole point. So to give you a background on the whole Miyagi-Do. So the whole Miyagi-Do is all about, their little tree with two branches. The two branches are Kung Fu from China, that is the Han version, and then karate, which is Miyagi-Do in Japan, and it forms one tree. So that's where Miyagi-Do came from, was when he was drinking and fishing, fell asleep, ended up in China, learned Kung Fu from the Han Academy. So they talk about that in the first, the second movie, actually, when he goes to Okinawa. So the whole thing about, so we all know about the, Cobra Kai, and we know about Karate Kid. The one that's different that a lot of people didn't watch, I didn't watch, but I guess it was very successful, was the Jackie Chan, Jaden Smith 2010 Karate Kid. And it essentially Jaden Smith moved to China with his parents, apparently, and then he discovered Jackie Chan was a drunk, but he helped him, just like it was basically a beat for beat version of the original Karate Kid, but in China. And Jackie Chan was a drunk, disgraced master who saved Jaden Smith, taught him how to do Kung Fu or Kung Fu.
And they pull it all together. They pull it all together somehow. So it was, because I always was left with the feeling that we had Ralph Macchio, then there was then there was Hilary Swank in the 90s, and that is not part of anything.
No, it is. It's just basically Mr. Miyagi takes on another student, and it goes from there. I mean, but it just tends to be the one, like, it was trying to.
In this film, is what
no, it was just like, and I read a history about it. Basically, they were trying to get nostalgic by restarting the franchise with the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank. and it just too soon, didn't do well. So I watched a recap of all of these before I saw Karate Kid Legends. So this is the one that really truly brings the two franchises together, the Jackie Chan and also the Daniel LaRusso, basically parts of Karate Kid, which it's the way this is done. It's really well done. A lot of it is, the majority of it is focused on Jackie Chan. He's the great uncle of Lee, who is a student in his now great karate kung fu school in China. He is there learning, and Jackie Chan's his great uncle. His mother, Lee, is Ming Na Wen. That's her uncle. So basically, but she's leaving the country because she's a doctor, so she's gonna get a job in New York. So she takes him to New York, and I will say there's some things I would say see this movie because there's more to it. But I would say she goes there with him. He is going through some things, and it is just adorable. This movie, Charlie, Joshua Jackson, Pacey is in this. Yes, and he is great in it. And he has a daughter, Bria B, from the Goldbergs, Adam Goldberg's girlfriend. Yeah. She is like kind of like the person she's attracted to. This gets into the other thing. He has to go and train to, beat a champion because of things. But the way they balance like generations and roles of characters, and the way they bring in Ralph Macchio, because they do bring him in because he's part of it. It's just great.
I was gonna say how they. No, well, now I'm curious.
It's really well done. I was so smiling the whole time. Like, this is so nice, so well done. The fight scenes are far better than any Karate Kid we ever got, because the guy who's lead in it, Ben Wang, he was in American Born Chinese. He is very capable of doing really good stunts. Jackie Chan was amazing. Ralph Macchio wasn't in a lot of it, but he did well merging the two. And I really dug it. It was fun. And there is a post-credit scene, Charlie. All I'll say is, stick around. It's fun. It's actually not even post-credits. It's like literally the film ends and then you get this part, which is very fun, very goofy. So you don't have to stick through the credits. It's
just a scene. Well, I guess it's unfortunate that this is clearly not connecting with audiences. But then again, Lilo and Stitch is out right now, and it's a juggernaut. And it's destroying kind of that everything that stands in its way. So interesting. Okay. You're typing something else you want to add?
I'm just trying to see, like, what was their budget? Did they have a budget for that movie? And sometimes they'll have it. Yeah. Okay, their budget was $47 million or $45 million. They already made $47 million worldwide, so this movie will be fine. It's small budget. They know they're not dealing with like high-end special effects. So if this makes $90 million, and Sony will be able to sell its rights elsewhere because they don't have a streaming service. So this movie the fact that it's already kind of covered its production budget week one, that's a success.
It
just is not going to hit it's just not going to hit like in the 100.
Where of course we're referring to our summer movie wager, of which Todd and I both had this as our dark horse, which is our 11th movie. So, okay, fine. Well, we'll see. Maybe people will love it as much as you do, and it'll get legs. Who knows?
I was going to say at first, I'm like, I don't know if my family will like it, because they did like the first Karate Kid film. They didn't watch the Jaden Smith one, and they didn't really stick around for Cobra Kai. So I'm like, I don't know if they'll like it, but you know what? You don't have to watch any of those things really to enjoy this, which is great.
That's what's really important. And Marvel has missed the boat in some ways of having this interconnectivity when you have, and again, it's funny, this is called Legends because it's a legacy sequel of a series that has not been out in a very long time. So anyway, well, cool. Hopefully something will come of it. Well,
hopefully you'll see it. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's just a very heart-touching, fun movie.
Well, we will. We'll consider. We are finally going to see the latest
Final Destination.
Final Destination this week, so which we missed because of the holidays and stuff. So
I have not caught up. I haven't watched the first one. I'm probably gonna see if I can figure out this fall when spooky season comes around.
That would be a very good one for spooky season. Wouldn't mind knocking that out. All right. Well, I saw a movie this week that you saw last week, and again, we missed it because we were up at my in-laws. And couldn't squeeze in a viewing of this, but Mission Impossible, is this one the last Reckoning? In the last one was Dead Reckoning, so this is Reckoning, but I
thought this was Dead Reckoning. I don't know what the last one was, because they changed the name, didn't they?
Yeah, they took away the part, because we rewatched number 7 before this, and it was part 1.
Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning, Charles. This is the Final Reckoning.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, yes, this was a 3-hour film. Todd talked about it last week, so we're not going to get too in the weeds here. But to me, I split it up. This is a movie that very affirmatively did have it was a 3-act play, beginning, middle, and end. First act, dragged ass, ton of exposition. Second act is what Todd was talking about. It was just Tom Cruise says, you know what? I want to be in my underwear jogging with an air mask and have a guy attack me with a knife. And we're going to have a sequence around that. Later on, I want to be under the ice caps in the Arctic in my underwear. So it was a fever dream. And then
wake up in a bubble in my underwear with
Haley
yes.
Atwell. Yeah.
Which I thought that was a dream sequence when I thought Charlie. I'm like, what is going on?
Todd, you know whose dream sequence that is? That would be my dream sequence because she's always been on my list. All right, and then the third.
But they didn't kiss. Tom Cruise is so asexual.
Tom Cruise doesn't engage in sexuality with other human beings. Doesn't happen.
No,
but he does a lot of face touching. He's always about the
gets
face
close.
It's
just enough.
Here, you can zoom. You can put this as my cap for the video.
We have more sexual chemistry than Tom Cruise has within any of his cast.
Don't say it, Todd. Don't tell him our secrets. And then the third act was some decent action. The stuff with
did you like the plane thing?
The biplane thing? I could take it or leave it. I did like when Isai Morales gets his comeuppance, which I won't spoil.
But did you notice he became like the ridiculous villain? Like, ha 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 ha! I'm killing Tom Cruise. I'm doing this. Ha 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 ha! I mean, it was just ridiculous. I mean, like, I need the device, but I'm going to kill him because the device will probably be okay. I'm like, what?
Yeah. The whole the tee up with the device, and we got to get it trapped here, but we only have a millisecond. But Haley Atwell's very quick, and then at the end of it, I'm not going to spoil it. It's really not surprising to me that this film, in its second week, just cracked 100 million. It did very poorly last weekend, and I'm sure the budget is like $300 kajillion. And I'm glad they had decided they were going to be done with the series, because otherwise, if it was anything else, it would just be done. Yeah, they really
even James Bond died. Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so a couple of streaming things. I'll do these quick. I'm sure you heard about Sirens, the miniseries over on Netflix. Does that ring a bell? So it's Millie Alcock, Kevin Bacon, Julianne Moore, and the girl who was the star of that Drop movie. You remember the Drop movie with the phone and like, you got to kill your date. We talked about it.
A movie I want to see, but never did. But I take your word.
Yeah, but she was the female in that. So this was a 5-part miniseries. I think they were 30 minutes each, maybe 40 minutes each. So very digestible. And it was a kind of a rich man, poor man, family struggle, the opulent rich, the ne'er-do-wells, and had a twist at the end that you didn't see coming. I enjoyed it. I think we actually stayed up late white night watching it because we got so sucked into it. You're glancing at something. Question?
I'm looking at the IMDb, and Glenn Howerton seems to be one of the leads.
Yes,
so,
Glenn Howerton. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I'm looking. It's only 5 episodes.
Yeah, it was a miniseries.
That's
it was
very odd. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, and the conclusion of it left openness for more story, but not like,
okay,
oh, that was really weird.
You know what, Charlie? I'm going to say this is what they say on IMDb. This is the pitch. Devin is concerned about her sister's unhealthy relationship with her new boss. That's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You're right.
Who's the new boss? Is it Kevin Bacon?
So look. No, it's Julianne Moore. She is the assistant to Julianne Moore's muckety-muck, living in the Hamptons, super rich wife of Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
So yeah, we enjoyed it. Like I said, and it kind of kept
comedy. Is it a drama? What is it?
Yeah. Drama, darkish comedy. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But and parts of it very psychological. Yeah, I found it very like the site, because I think it's more a reference to, because it's set on basically the far northeastern tip of Long Island, looking out at Long Island Sound of the Atlantic Ocean. So Sirens, and that was kind of the framing around it. So I thought it was interesting. I would recommend it if you enjoy that kind of thing. Secondly, we just watched this last night. It's a Max original, soon to be HBO Max, but it's called Mountainhead, a la the Fountainhead. and it's about four
Ayn Rand.
four tech bros, masters of the universe. The senior one of which is Steve Carell. Found this completely randomly, and also Jason Schwartzman is one of the other ones, and the
Riddler's in this.
And the Riddler, yep, the guy he was also Chevy Chase in the SNL.
And that weird Rami Youssef, is that who does?
Yeah.
He's got the weird mustache. It's like, dude, the mustache
Yep.
isn't working for you.
But they were Todd, you've worked for a corporation for many years. You might be a little at home listening to these guys talk. It's all tech bro dicks and nothing but corpo speak, and watching them but they're presiding over the end of the world from a distance because they've created this deep fake media technology that has the world descending into chaos. And it takes place over a weekend at Jason Schwartzman's opulent ski lodge. And they figure out at one point that the three of them getting together to kill the fourth one is going to be the way to make everything right. And it's just listening to them talk, it gives me nightmares of being in the corporate world, of which I am no longer.
That sounds exhausting, quite honestly.
It was, but it was exhausting. But I kept turning to April because she works in tech, and she's like, "Oh my guys, it's just absolutely what these."
I have not heard good things about this show. Like when I heard about the reviews, I'm like, it seems like they missed the mark.
I thought it came out like 2 days ago, but it's
a movie rather than a series.
It's a movie. Yeah, it's
thank God.
Maybe you're thinking of something else. Yeah, I think if you dip into it ironically, it works. But to taken literally straight head, I could see that people would be like, "Oh God, I'm just exhausted by listening to it." Anyway, so
unless something horribly happens to them, I think that's the only way people would be happy with like rich executives. We don't want to see them being foolish. We want to see them be mauled by bears, essentially, at this point.
Maybe that's what happened when Steve Carell drives away. That'd be great. There you go. That maybe that was post-credit scene I missed. Lastly, and I don't even know how I stumbled onto this, picking up a rewatch of this, but this was a channel that was on Sci-Fi, a show that was on Sci-Fi, which used to be a network. Maybe it still is. Is Sci-Fi still around?
It is actually has, and this is the weird part, Charlie. I'm just going to do my little segue. Surreal Estate season 3 is out. It's on Sci-Fi. I thought they would just go to like Peacock day and date, like the episodes are out, they would go there. They don't. It's like what I mean, how is this series it's like Yellowstone, I guess, at this point, right?
Paramount Network, exactly. Which I think literally that's the only show they have. But now that Yellowstone is over, maybe they're going to cease to exist. But anyway, back on the Sci-Fi Channel, back in 2010 or so, they adapted this UK series called Being Human, which is almost like a sitcom of sorts of a vampire, which is Sam Witwer. It's not Sam Worthington. Maybe it's Sam Worthington.
Jimmy Olsen from Superman Returns,
from the movie
being a werewolf.
We're going to talk about. And then this very pretty girl named Megan Malik or something is a ghost, and they
so she wasn't a girl from like True Blood, right? I can't remember. She's
no.
Okay.
I looked her up, and she is the show shot in Montreal. So she's a Montreal native, and I don't know that she was subsequently in. I was looking her up in Hawaii Five-0, the TV show. She was a regular on that.
Okay.
So there you go. But anyway, great show. It ran for 4 seasons, 52 episodes. We're most of the way through the first season, and it's great. It's super formulaic. It's very Canadian. Every episode ends with a Canadian ballad, like prog rock ballad. So I'm like, oh, I kind of like some of these. So I've been adding a few to my playlist.
Oh yeah, that had some really good music. I remember watching one of the episodes. I'm like, there's a great cover of something, and I couldn't remember what it was. And I tried to find the artist, and it's like crazy. That's back in the old days when you couldn't find it, or you couldn't download it, or you couldn't buy it.
Yeah. So the show is fun. If you've not seen it, I'd recommend it. It's on Prime, which means just like what we were talking about earlier, you can find it. But yeah, I'm having fun watching.
Well, and there's also a British version, right, Charlie? Did you ever see that?
Yeah, that's what it came from. I don't, after going back and trying to watch the British version of Ghosts, I thought, maybe it's better enough left.
Ghosts is not as charming. I would say it's a little bit more like
not at all
very harsh, which is like but yeah.
Yeah, it's not a fun sitcom. But anyway, Being Human, 4 seasons, 52
good
episodes.
Show. I think I only got through like 2 seasons of that show, but very good.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely correct. So, all right, well, that takes us out of the Geek Easy. I've got my Air Qantas app up. It is time to get that plane to get us down to the land down under, where Hologram Tina and the mutants await for the continuation of the Summer of Superman. Superman Returns. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we are continuing week 3 of the summer of Superman. We are skipping Superman 3, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Shucks.
And we're going to Superman Returns 2006. Superman returns to Earth after spending 5 years in space examining his whole world, Krypton, but he finds things have changed while he was gone, and he must once again prove himself important to the world. Bryan Singer came on after doing the X-Men films to direct this. Screenplay by Michael Dougherty and Dan Harris. Same people pretty much did the story. Warner Brothers Picture distributed this. Came out June 21st, 2006. And then basically a budget of $223 million, box office of $391. And basically, kids, Warner Brothers said this was a complete failure.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I mean, factor of 3.
Well,
so if you make it easy math and call it their net, which is 204, so 610 and change. If you triple it, that's bad. That's bad.
I remember seeing this.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this at the IMAX theater at the Minnesota Zoo. We had a great IMAX theater, which is now closed, which is so sad because I'm not sure why they don't do it anymore. Great IMAX theater, amazing. And I saw it. They did scenes for IMAX. It was amazing. I'm like, I'm so excited for this film. And I will just leave it there. But Charlie, Brandon Roth makes his debut in this as a unknown. We didn't know him. Kevin Spacey shows up as Lex Luthor. Kate Bosworth from I don't remember what she was famous for. Maybe Blue Surf or whatever. Was Lois Lane.
Here for Kate Bosworth, but okay.
James Marsden, apparently Nepo baby to Richard White. Parker Posey, which I completely forgot.
And take one. I know.
Playing basically the modern Mrs. What was her name from the first two movies?
Miss Tessmacher.
Kitty Kowalski.
Yeah, back in this one, Tessmacher. Yeah. This new one.
Frank Langella, Perry White, Sam Huntington. We just talked about Jimmy Olsen. Eva St. Marie, who was also Lois Lane in the original Superman TV show.
Yes.
Yeah. Martha Kent. Marlon Brando makes a appearance, which I'm trying to remember. He was still alive at the time, so he might have done a voiceover. Cal Penn looked so young.
$9 million. Yes.
Cal Penn, so young in this. He's back. And then we had Tristan Lake LeBeau being young Jason White, which is interesting that he took on the name of his adoptive dad rather than because they weren't even married, right?
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah, you're right. So
we'll very weird.
That more later.
Odd choice. Yeah, so that's your cast. I would say that there's other people. There's points to this movie being so reverent. They brought in Jimmy Olsen, who became the bartender. We had other characters from the old series that actually had roles in this film. So there we go. So that is kind of our plot. And I would say, Charlie, putting the groundwork here, this essentially was a spiritual successor to the Donner series. This felt like it was a sequel, but it honestly, the way it went forward, it basically ignored the plot points of the Donner films, but wanted to embrace the feel.
Right. And ignored, it was almost like kind of guidelines more than rules, because they took, for example, the fact that Lois and Clark had sex in the second one, but ignored the fact that when that happened, and I mentioned this in our last recording, Superman had depowered himself. So therefore, the other twist, if you will, later on in the movie doesn't make any sense. But
she doesn't even know that Clark is Superman in this.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, don't you remember that Superman made her forget?
Correct. Yes.
But she wasn't also. But you're right. It doesn't fit because those Christopher Reeve movies were in continuity to each other. But then you can't say, well, half of it didn't happen. So yes, you're right.
And Lex Luthor had never been to the Fortress of Solitude because, once again, in those,
but he knew
he got the download in number 2 because remember he got the download, got all that information, and this one. He discovered it and then got basically, they don't know I'm not Superman. And he got the download all about Superman. So this essentially is in the world of Superman that Donner made, but isn't tied
But
to
it's
those
like
because
yeah. And especially since the timing of it is completely different. And I found out, I kept looking at like, oh, this feels very Canadian. It's very Canadian. It shot almost entirely in Australia. Did not know that when I went to go
almost
back and look
exactly
at
the
it.
same, Charlie. Canada,
Yeah.
Australia, yeah,
Yep.
not summer, winter, the Wiggles. I mean, it's all the same.
Everybody, the Wiggles versus Bryan Adams. I know it's all very, very different.
And
So yeah, the question becomes, because there are parts of this movie that I enjoyed. I, like you, was very excited to see Superman. Our last Superman movie, which was Superman 4, was 1987. So this was almost 20
horrible.
years later. It was horrible. As Superman was just kind of a dormant property. Singer was very hot because it was before he became a sex pest. Same thing with Kevin Spacey becoming a sex pest. So they were still hot. He had big names. Singer was coming off of the X-Men. He brought, Cyclops
Yeah, he
along with
skipped
him.
X-Men 3 to do this, I believe.
Right. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Came out at the same time, which is obviously why James Marsden had a very tiny role in X-Men 3, because he was doing this. There are parts of this I absolutely love. So you're right. But you hot linked an article in here why this failed. And again, Todd, you didn't do your customary notes, which I understand why. But
I didn't feel
should
I
we talk-
needed to,
yeah,
which is just
should
sad.
should we talk about why the movie just doesn't work? I mean, go for
Yeah,
it.
I
Get the ball rolling.
that's a great point. So, obviously this movie is set where Superman's gone for 5 years, and he is trying to determine if Krypton truly does exist. Gone for 5
Right.
years. He didn't say goodbye to Lois. He apparently didn't even decide to say goodbye to his mom. So a lot of this is feeling like
Mom.
Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
like, why did you have to do it? I get it that you're
Right.
curious, but
Right.
what was going to come of that? And the fact that you said you would be there for Earth, even along one of the plot points is Lex says he essentially got some time, but he could have gotten more if Superman had been there as a witness, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
So Lex
And
essentially got 5 years.
they even described it weirdly as well, he wasn't there for the appeals court, but I'm like, that's not how the justice system works or whatever. But yeah, Lex got out of prison by seducing a widow, and then she died and everything. So that part of it was very on par for Lex Luthor, a swindle. But
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I think, one of the biggest, and I don't even know if you have to go through like all the things of this. Basically, it came back to, once again, we're back to Lex Luthor again. He had been in, basically 3 out of the 4 previous movies. We go back to Lex Luthor again as an antagonist, and it's essentially another real estate deal, which he had already done. We've got another sympathetic female antagonist that does a lot of lifting towards basically dismantling Lex's plan. And I mean, it just didn't feel like we really did enough there to say this is what will make a new Superman much better. It feels like it was hitting so many plot points. Even the opening credits, Charlie, of this movie, it looked exactly like the Donner films.
Yep.
It was like
with the advent of CGI technology because again, you watch the 78 thing and it's like, here's a flasher going across, and here's it was cheaper than Star Wars. It's all CGI, and now you get to watch Krypton blow up because you see the sun collapse. And so it was a lot of kind of flash and no substance, which was missing. My biggest issue, and again, I'll segue a little bit further down this list, and I did more reading on this as we went, was the casting of Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane. She was 22 years old when she shot this film.
Wow.
Lois,
with a 5-year-old kid.
With a 5-year-old kid. So if she was literally 22, which the character is not supposed to be, it would have been a teen pregnancy. Now, there's anything wrong with that, but it's not the character. So Lois, you get the feeling, is right around the same age as Superman, and you would I think Brandon Routh was 27, 28 when this film came out, which I guess that makes sense because Christopher Reeve's Superman was just out of high school. Remember, his dad died, he walked to the fortress, and then he was gone for 12 years. So he was 30 Christopher Reeve Superman was 30 in that first
Yeah.
movie, and you figure Lois is right around the same age. But here she's 22. She looks 22. So dyeing her hair,
Very
because
young,
she's a
yeah.
blonde, dyeing her hair and dressing her in grown-up looking clothing didn't get the job done. So you needed somebody who was 10 years older to pull off this role, and someone with some gravitas. Because yeah, you're right. Kate Bosworth was in the Surfer Girl movie something, and then
Yeah,
what else was she
Blue
in?
Wave or something like that.
Blue
Yeah,
Wa-
it was kind of
yeah,
into
Blue something.
the yeah, and
So
I really didn't feel like she had deserved the role of Margot Kidder, which was all about being witty and basically standoffish. She could do what she wanted to do as a reporter, and out of this she got like a Pulitzer, and Barry's like, oh, nobody remembers why you got the Pulitzer, just to saying you got a Pulitzer. She's supposed to show up there,
right.
but
You're 22.
yeah, it was just
Yeah.
it was herky jerky, and then Lois apparently met something right after her and Superman hooked up, met James Marsden, who then he assumed the kid was his, but they weren't married, which just felt a little awkward.
It was weird after 5 years, and yes, it is revealed, no big surprise, that this is Superman's child, because he does, but he's a young man, doesn't really have control of his abilities, but when he
has shots of he has, and then they try to try to dissuade you with the kid being anything other than what he is, because he's a kind of a milquetoast kid. He has to take shots of basically for his asthma, has to do that. He's like, it's not a big deal. But then this movie, Charlie, the main theme of this movie felt like it is about Superman and Lois, but they don't really know each other very well, because obviously she has no clue that he's Clark Kent. And then there's this love, but not love, but obviously Clark or Superman is all about being uber creepy, watching people from afar, and this feels like more of a Homelander Superman than it does feel like a Superman that is willing to. It was just weird.
Reeve as Superman was very just formidable in his what came out, and he was Christopher Reeve was a classically trained Juilliard level amazing stage actor, and he exuded that in everything that he said and everything that he didn't say. Brandon Roth, I don't really know much about him, but he's not this is even reflected in some of the comments.
Well, he was born in Des Moines, Iowa, so he fits the
that part of it definitely clicked. Looking down further in this article, this makes a very good point. Superman's journey to the ruins of Krypton makes no sense. It was, and I even read there was a cut plot line that had to do with Cal Penn's character, that he was a disgraced journalist from the Daily Planet that planted a story about astronomers finding ruins so that Superman would leave the planet, which I think would have at least increased some credibility. But his line, which he said to his mother early in the film, I thought it might still be there, but the place was a graveyard. That's all I'm left. So it took him 2.5 years to get there. He looked around for 5 minutes and then took 2.5 years to get back. That's how far away it was. It didn't seem like it didn't seem like it took him that long to get there when he was launched, because he got there and he was maybe, remember the naked baby the first movie.
Yes, I remember the naked baby, and then we didn't get a naked Brandon Routh. We did get we didn't have to see a frontal, because you can't do that. Yeah.
Right, but that kid who came out of the pod was maybe a year, or maybe he was older. I'm not sure.
So I think it was two, maybe, because it was 2 or 3 years, right? Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the math works out after all, but
still, he is traveling at the speed of Superman in this. I mean, it just feels like, so if he found Krypton, what would he have done? Like, brought Krypton back? Would have stayed there?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then is he going to travel back and forth, but it takes me 3 years to get there? It's like, it becomes a scenario where it's like, it seems like the plot was leading more of the overall character of the film, which just did not work. But I feel like all of this was into service of Bryan Singer loving what Donner did and trying to replicate it. So basically, Brandon Routh landing similar to how he did, and hitting all these. I mean, the way this movie starts to is with, once again, it's Marlon Brando doing a speech and doing all these things, and we have the headline. So I feel like this movie felt like it was fan service the movie, hitting all these beats, Lex Luthor again, rather than trying to do something different. And I think the only outcome of this is I don't even know what the different outcome was. He has a kid now, and he basically says, "I hope you'll be okay, and I'm always here." So it even end in an interesting spot.
And you're in the problem with the fan service is that the fan it's servicing is Singer, not the audience, because the audience hasn't seen a movie in 20 years. You have a new generation of an audience that didn't grow up nonstop watching Superman on TV or a continuation of the story. And you're like, I love, my parents love Star Trek, and then I love Star Trek, and now there's Star Trek movies, and I'm going to go see Captain Kirk on the big screen. It's not that kind of thing. It's maybe the reason why it comes back to it, why the reason the Star Wars sequels didn't work, because we fan service this thing in there. Chewbacca gets a medal now, and it's not interesting, and it doesn't give you a different spin on Superman, which is, I think, what we're hoping to see, out of what's coming out this summer.
Yeah, and since the last Superman film before that was Quest for Peace, we got Lois and Clark. We also got Smallville, right? So it felt like we got more time with Clark in different ways with Lois. And it felt like we got a lot of that on the small screen. So by the time we got this, it felt like the treatment of Clark, Superman, and Lois was not very well done. It felt like it was very like surface layer. Felt like this is if, once again, you continued the original Donner series, those series of movies, and was like, oh, Singer thinks he can bring it back. But I feel like he accomplished so little in this that it just felt like it was, like I said, I didn't take any notes because I felt like I don't think there's many notes here. There's just too many things.
You went very far to do very little. But the good news is some of the people on our various social medias did have thoughts about this. I did post this on our SFU Discord and our Facebook, and on, as I'd mentioned, the Mission Log Discord, which I belong to, John Champion, Norman Lau, and their awesome Discord. It's one worth joining if you join their Patreon. But anyway, first, you ready to roll with this? First and foremost is our own Kurt Krug, who is a very good buddy of mine. And from Facebook, he says, Routh's acting was stiff. He was trying to do Reeve, but he really couldn't. Superman and Clark Kent haven't been seen in 5 years, yet they both reappear on the same day and nobody can figure it out and put two and two together. Come on already. Kurt, you got it. We had Dave CT1, who also commented on one of the previous Superman movies, again from Mission Log Discord. As an attempt to follow up Superman 1 and 2, I think they did a pretty good job. There are parts of it I liked. But I don't think enough of it to make a whole.
And I get it. If this was a movie made in 1980, Dickety 2, whatever we're going to call it, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Not a movie made in 2006.
Yeah, not getting into, the modern era of superhero pictures. Rachel Ostrowski, who is a member of our SFI group here in Grand Rapids, from the SFU Facebook. The film should be lost and forgotten. It was bad on so many levels. Now, if you look at it as a new superhero film with nothing to do with DC Comics or Superman movies, it's still bad. Wow. Holy cow. I think she means it. And this was a late ad from the nerdy blogger, who's one of the main people in the Mission Lord Discord. Friends and I declared it the lamest movie to ever lame. We all hated it. Okay.
The suckiest suck that ever sucked.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's a Homer Simpson. My wiener kids are listening.
No, I mean, they make great points. I mean, all of this, it felt like it was trying to recapture something, and we had moved on.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest point of all of this, because Brandon Routh, I thought I didn't have any problem with his taking the role. He was given the script he was given the direction he was given. And I think he is such a nice dude. I thankfully got redemption in the Arrowverse, as Ray Palmer and the Atom. You
said Bryan Singer, but you meant Brandon Routh, because
Brandon Routh. Yeah. So Bryan Singer got no redemption. Goodbye. Good, bad sir. We knew you so badly. But you know what? Ultimately, I wish he would have stayed with X-Men and left Superman alone. I think we can all agree with that. And Charlie, I think the biggest thing I think we all felt in this movie was the only heroic acts we've got of Superman felt very limited. We got a basically a plane stopped, and then he stood in front of a gun
Yeah, a
shooting,
minigun.
and then the bad guy shot him in the eye with a
went
bullet.
boink. Yeah, that was the only like, and then he spent time in space listening to things, which.
And then he picked up a planet. He picked up the new Krypton thing, or whatever on the thing, and then he basically stood in the sun for multiple times to basically remind you, oh yeah, he's powered by the sun.
Yeah, he's got solar powers, gets recharged. So, the real question is, as we wrap this up, when we move into covering the Man of Steel, is it going to be an improvement? But we will find out when we get there. All right, rating, Todd. 1 out of 10 fluttering capes.
Oh, I was going to say Otis's, because there's no Otis in this film, which
1
sucked.
out of 10 missing your Otis. Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. While I enjoyed some of the special effects, I enjoyed Brandon Routh, but I understand this is a very flawed film, and it was a film that, quite honestly, I'm glad I had never seen again. Now that I've seen it again, I'm like, I never have to watch this film again. It has no merit.
Exactly how I felt about Superman 2, which we watched last week.
Yes.
Yeah. I probably won't be quite as harsh. I might go maybe a 4.5. Kind of fond memories. I think I might have watched this one with my son once or twice, so I have the looking back of that, and it kind of gave the nostalgic vibe back in 2006 because I love Christopher Reeve so much, and it was not long after his passing. So yeah, a little bit of the member berries and the nostalgia goggles on that one, but yeah, not a great flick. All right. Well, returning next week with 2013's Man of Steel. Guest, is Luke going to be joining us for that one?
Nope, he's going to do BVS with us.
BVS,
Luke will be on for BVS.
So I guess we're tackling this one solamente, which is good because you get two guys who enjoyed that film.
Different viewpoint.
Yeah, a little teaser from that. But with that is the program. Folks, as always, thank you for joining us, Todd. Where do people find you out there?
They can follow me on Blue Sky at Todd Oxtra, at Seek Friends Unite. Might be dots, might be dashes, might be nothing. At Instagram, at the Facebook, at the Threads, at Toxtra, at Secret Friends Unite, no dots. And then check out our Discord, check out our YouTube channel, check out our podcast, give us a rating on our podcast. We'd really love it. And leave a comment on our YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the good news is I am easy to find on what I consider to be the big three socials. That would be Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I am at the C3, TheCeeThree. But I like to spend my time hanging out at the Secret Friends Unite Discord because that's where we get a lot of folks talking a lot of geek stuff, and we got a lot of these great comments. So we'd like to see you there. If you're on Discord, you're searching for us, and you don't find it, ping one of us on one of those socials and we will send you an evergreen invitation to join up and be part of the conversation. But with that, we draw to a close. Thanks one more time for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. Keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Great Caesar's ghost, which he actually said.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.